Hey guys, this is Brent with Western Equipment, and in this video I'm going to show you everything you need to know about the John Deere S180, so let's get started. To start, let's talk a little bit about model numbers here, guys. As we see, we have the S180. Now, in 2021, the S replaced the E in the 100 series mowers. So within this S class, you now have the 100 series and the 200 series. So with our next digit being the one that does indicate that this tractor is in the 100 series. Now, the 100 series will range all the way from the S100s up to the S180. So this is going to be the biggest, baddest mower in the 100 class. Now the 80 here at the end is just going to represent the features and things that this mower comes with, such as deck size and all the other features on this mower. So now let's talk about the engine, and first thing I want to point out, guys, is whenever we're getting underneath the hood, just how easy it is to raise and lower that hood. As you'll notice, there's no latch systems, there's no clips or anything that's holding this hood down, so it is very easy to open. Now, one thing also that I'd point out about this is since there isn't a latch system on this, whenever you're transporting this mower, maybe you're putting it in the back of your truck or pulling it onto a trailer, we always do want to pull this mower straight onto that trailer. Don't back it on, as the wind could catch it and cause you to lose your hood. So just make sure when you're pulling that into the bed of your truck, moving this mower on a trailer, you are pulling it straight on. So now here, guys, getting underneath the hood, looking at our engine, the first thing we point out is it is a 24 horsepower extended life series Briggs engine. Now you'll notice here that it is labeled John Deere, but just know that this engine is made by Briggs & Stratton, and it is the extended life series. So one thing that you'll notice whenever it is that series of engine, which is just an upgrade in the Briggs & Stratton lineup, is that you will notice that you'll see this green cover just like what we have here. Now let's go ahead and jump into those service points. First one will be right here at this cover. We just have a couple of hand nuts here. We can open that up, get into our air filter housing. Super easy to pull that air filter out to change it. Pop one back in, then go back on with your cover and tighten down your screws. Now, next thing about this engine is it is a V-twin engine, so you will have two spark plugs. We'll have one on this side, and then also you'll have a corresponding one over here on the other side. Next, guys, is going to be our fuel filter right over here on the side. Super easy to get to. These are just held on by these two clamps, one at the top and one at the bottom, so very easy to get to change that fuel filter. Over here also on the driver's side of the mower, you are going to have your easy 30-second oil change system. Now this is something, guys, that John Deere's been doing for a couple of years. If this is something that's new to you that you haven't seen, I've done videos on changing this in the past, so I'll go ahead and leave a link in the description below to that so you can see that done. That is going to be truly a 30-second oil change where you pop it off, take the new one out, pop a new one on, and your oil change is done. Next, guys, over here on the passenger side, we've got our oil fill. This is also going to be our dipstick. So whenever we pull that out, you'll notice there that that is a dipstick that will show you that oil level. Now, one thing that I like to point out is that there's a certain way when we're going to check our oil, and whenever we do this, a lot of people think that we need to go ahead and tighten this all the way down to where it's closed. Whenever you're checking this oil, what you want to do is set your cap on and then find the spot to where it just drops down into place. So as you see there, I'm turning and it just drops down into place. Once you're there, that is where you want to make sure and check that oil level to get that true reading. Lastly, guys, on service points, right back here is going to be where our battery is located. It is held in by this strap that can be easily removed down here at the bottom. But as you'll notice, guys, plenty of room here, super easy to get to. It's going to have plenty of room if you want to add such things as a trickle charger in there. You do have the space to do that. Now, while we're also talking about service points, one last thing I want to point out is right here underneath the hood, you are going to have this service interval chart. This is going to show you exactly when you need to perform those services on your mower. At the seat here, guys, some really nice features. This is going to be a 15-inch high back seat here on this S180. It's also going to have a really nice feature here of lumbar support. So as you can see, when I turn this switch here, you can see my hand move. That's actually moving that lumbar support piece inside the seat, which is a nice feature to add to that comfort value. Like I said, when we're moving up to that 180, we're moving up to that top end of the 100 series, so you're going to get some of those top end features. And then also you're going to see that this is just a super comfortable weather resistant seat here. It does have the grooves in it here that's going to allow that water to run off, and it also is going to flip up very easily in case this mower sits outside and does collect moisture. Now from here we'll go ahead and get onto this machine and show you about the operator station. A couple of things though that I want to point out about getting onto this machine is, for one, the difference in the S180 is we are going to have a 54-inch deck. On a lot of the S100 series we're looking at 42 and 48-inch decks that don't stick out as far as this 54 does. So it's going to be just a little bit more of a stretch to get onto this mower. So it's one thing to consider, you know, if you have mobility issues or making that step is a little bit difficult, this is one thing that you need to consider, because these decks are not designed to be stepped on. As you can see, I can move that deck fairly easily by stepping on it, and it also does not have either a grip sticker or a step on the deck, so it is not meant to be stepped on. So just keep that in mind. So whenever I'm getting on here, you know, we've got our 3 points of contact, we get in, and like I said, guys, that seat's just a very, very comfortable seat. Now, one thing also about this seat here, not only do we have the spring suspension underneath and the lumbar support, but we're also going to have seat slide where we can go forward or backwards, and we have 5.5 inches of slide going either backwards or forwards. So the nice thing about that is you are going to be able to adjust this mower to fit those different operator sizes, whether you're larger or taller, need to be closer to the steering wheel or closer to the pedals, you are going to have that adjustment on this seat. Next here, guys, while we're over here, we'll go ahead and start on the left hand side and talk about our parking brake. Now here is going to be our parking brake switch, and it is going to correspond to this pedal right down here on the left hand side. So as it is right now, we do have the parking brake engaged as we have it up, but if we want to relieve that, we're just going to push in on our pedal and then down there on our switch, and that's going to relieve our parking brake. And then this can be used as a brake whenever it's not set as a parking brake. Whenever you're driving this mower, if you happen to need to come to a sudden stop, you do have that as a brake. And then to reset it, we just push in and raise up on our lever. Now next here, moving up, we do have a 1-lever choke and throttle system. This is going to be something that is unique to the 100 series, as you do have this just single lever. Now most models are going to have another lever here that'll act as our choke, but as we can see on our indicator here, to get into the choke position, we just go all the way forward, and then that's going to choke, and when we let go, the spring release brings it back down into our normal throttle lever. Next, moving down here, guys, we're going to have our rear implement option button. As you can see here, we have this symbol that shows us mowing in reverse. So this is a safety feature on this mower. So what this is for is whenever we have those blades engaged, if we need to go and mow in reverse, we will have to activate this button before we start that rear descent. Now that, like I said, is a safety feature, so we don't happen to back up and run something over. So just know that if you do need to mow in reverse, and we always do have those times, you do have to push this button before we go in reverse. Now, once you have pushed this and you've started going in reverse while mowing, you can let go of that button. You don't have to hold it the whole time, but to keep those blades engaged, like I said, you do have to push it to start that rear descent, and then you can let go of it. So next here on top, guys, we do have our standard hour meter, but there is going to be an upgrade to this in 2021, as now you are going to have an electronic fuel gauge that is put into the hour meter there. So before, we just had a fuel gauge underneath the seat that was just a manual gauge that was right here in this position, but John Deere has changed that in 2021 and added that into the operator station, making it a lot easier to see there right in front of you. So also over here on the driver's side, guys, is going to be your deck raise and lower. Now this is going to be incrementally from 4 inches to 1 inches with multiple different spots here. These are going to be in 1/4 inch increments, like I said, all the way down to 1 inch. Now this is a hand raise and lower. There's no pedal there, so to raise and lower, we simply pick our position by hand. It is spring assisted, and now this is going to be the heaviest deck in that 100 series lineup, but I'm telling you, with that spring assist, it is super easy to go ahead and move that pick your position or raise it back up. On the right hand side, first thing I'll point out, guys, is here at the key switch. Pretty standard switch, except one thing I'd like to point out is you do have a lights position. So once you turn the mower on, you can go back into the lights position, and then you have those lights for if you're going to be doing those early morning mowing sessions, maybe late at night, or you're just doing those chores and you need that extra light, you do have that option. Now to turn those off, we're either going to go back into our stop position, or we can go just one turn to the right, and that will turn those lights off. Now next here, we do have a cruise control on this mower. Now a lot of people think that this is silly on these mowers, to have this cruise control, but if you're buying a mower with a 54-inch deck, it's probably good to assume that you have a lot to mow. So you might be making a lot of long passes, and it's going to get tiresome by holding your foot on this pedal for all that time. So once you, a lot like your vehicle, once you find your speed, you can raise this lever up. It will lock this mower into that speed, and you'll just continue to travel. You can take your foot off of the pedal, and it will act like a true cruise control. And then to disengage that, much like your vehicle, you just hit your brake over here on the side, and that will disengage your cruise control. Now next here, we have our PTO engagement. So on the S180, it does have the electronic PTO here. So instead of having a manual lever here that you would have to raise, instead we have the electronic pop button here. So to engage those blades, we would pull up. To turn them off, we'd push down. And one other thing that I like to point out, guys, it's pretty cool, is it says right here above this, locally supported, built in Greenville, Tennessee, USA. So nowadays, guys, a lot of times with these smaller residential mowers, they get accused of being cheap, junky, and made in different countries, but you can rest assured that these S180s and the whole S100 series lineup is made right there in Greenville, Tennessee. Now next, guys, moving over here to the right, couple of things we'll point out. One is that you do have a covered storage area. Kind of a nice feature there, guys, so you can add things such as your keys, wallets, phone, whatever you need to keep in there. You can keep that covered up. And then also one thing to notice is that in a lot of places, your extra key and spare key is going to be put in that cubby hole there. So make sure before you go home with your mower that you do have that spare key. If you don't see it with your operator manual, make sure to check right in here for that. Now back behind that, we are going to have a cup holder here, guys. That way you can have whatever beverage on board with you that you want while you're mowing. And then lastly, and most importantly here, guys, we have our twin touch pedals. Now, just like most hydrostatic mowers, this is going to be a very simple system. We're simply going to turn the mower on, find the speed that we want our engine to be at, and then we have either our forward pedal or a reverse. This is going to be just super simple to operate. This is going to be great for, if you have those operators that are inexperienced, maybe the kids are going to be mowing, because they're easily labeled forward and backward. Now keep in mind that with these mowers, you are going to have a top travel speed of 5.5 mile an hour forward and 3.2 mile an hour going backwards. So not too fast, not too slow, but a great system there. Also, guys, right over here, we talked about that seat slide. Here is where that is going to be. That lever is just right there underneath the seat. So you can pull that up, slide forward, or slide back. It's simple as that. Like I said, you have that 5.5 inches to fit whatever operators you need to fit. At the rear of the mower here, guys, first things we'll point out is that you do have, like we talked about, we have that spring suspension there on the seat. We're also going to have our cargo mount system here. Now this is a system that Deere uses for their attachments. So whenever we're adding such things, maybe as that weather enclosure, that rear sprayer, that bucket holder, that bagger kit, all of those different attachments are going to use this cargo mount system on the 100 series. So very important that you know what those are for. Now also here, guys, you'll notice this wire going up. You'll notice we do have a seat switch on this mower. That is going to be a safety feature to make sure there's an operator in the station whenever the blades are running. So just make sure that this is connected at all times. Next, guys, here is going to be our fuel opening. As you see, it's right underneath the seat. You'll see that we do have this opening where if we happen to have that spillage, you're not going to have a mess all over the mower. It will run out the back here. When we open this up, the lid is tethered so you won't lose it. You have an 1 3/4 opening and a 2.4 gallon tank. Now moving down to the back here, the couple of things we want to point out. For one, I want to point out these slots here on top. These are also going to be used with that cargo mount system, especially when we're talking about our bucket holders and our bagger kits. These are going to act as mounting points, so just know that those are there. Next, moving down here, this is going to be our transaxle release lever. So as you see here on the sticker, when we're pushed in like we are now, we're in driving mode. Now when we pull this out, we're able to push this mower. And I know the question arises a lot is, why would I ever need to push this mower? But guys, we have those instances where we run out of fuel, we have some sort of mechanical issue, whatever that is, you can release this lever, release your parking brake, and then easily push this mower to wherever you need to go. So it is important that you know that that's there. Next is going to be our rear hitch. Now this is just a simple clevis style hitch. This is going to be great. One thing that makes these tractors super functional is having this rear hitch, so we can add rear attachments such as spreaders, sprayers, thatchers, or poly carts, or any type of cart. Anything that's going to have that clevis style hitch, we can add here at the back to just add that functionality to these mowers. Now lastly, let's talk a little bit about our transaxles. This is one thing that we don't usually shed enough light on, guys, but I just want to point out that on these mowers you do have these cast aluminum transaxles. These are going to be the TLT 200s. They are a residential style transaxle, as this is going to be in the smallest residential class of mowers, but just know that they are that cast aluminum. They are going to be that more heavy duty residential transaxle. Now let's talk about tires, and we'll start here at the rear. Now these tires and rims are going to be different than any other of the S series mowers. They are going to be larger. These are going to be the 22 by 9.5 by 12s. So what that means is these are 22 in diameter, so 22 across. You're going to have a 12-inch rim here, and then they're going to be 9.5 inches wide. So guys, one thing that will definitely stick out on this S180 to you versus any of the other S series mowers is that this 12-inch rim. This is going to stick out to you, as most of them are either going to be 10-inch or even smaller. So that will stick out, and make sure that you know that you have that S180. Also, one thing I like to point out about these 100 series mowers is just how easy it is to change a tire if you need to, because it's going to be inevitable, guys, that at some point you're going to have an issue with a flat. So if you need to change this tire or take it off to have it repaired, it's going to be as simple as popping off this cap, removing one spring clip, pulling that wheel off, having it repaired, and then popping it back on. Now we're also going to have larger front tires, as these are going to be 16s in diameter. Now what you're normally going to see on your 100 series is going to be 15s, but we move up in tire size in the front and the rear on the 180 because we've also moved up in deck size to that 54-inch deck. And with along with moving up to that 54-inch deck, it's also made out of a heavier, thicker steel. Now talking about decks, the S180 is going to be the only model in the S100 series lineup or S200 series lineup that has the 54-inch deck. So if you're looking for that residential size of mower and you need the 54-inch deck, the S180 is going to be the way to go. Now it is going to be the edge cutting system here. So one couple of things about it is you will have the bolt-on spindle covers here. You'll have these bolt-on covers on both sides, and these are actually going to act as belt guides also. So you'll see these notches in them here that are going to actually act as belt guides, helping to hold that belt into that pulley. But you're also going to see these openings here on the side that's going to make it easy to get to your grease zerks. You'll also have these on both sides. Now with this being a 54-inch deck, you are going to have extra anti-scalping wheels. So on this deck in particular, you're going to have 2 anti-scalping wheels here on the sides, and then you're also going to have one in the center at the front of the deck just to help with the balance of this deck. As this is going to be larger, you will be able to adjust those depending on what height you're going to be cutting at. But they wanted to make sure, whenever making this deck, they wanted to make sure that you had enough support and to make sure that this didn't have wiggle and walk to it, so they added the extra anti-scalping wheels on the 54. So on adjusting these anti-scalping wheels, you will have 4 different positions here. Now like I said, these are going to depend on what height you're normally going to cut at. So say that we're going to normally cut at 2.5 2.5 inches. One of these positions will be for that. If we're going to cut mainly from the 3 to 4 range, we'll be in that top position. It all just depends on what height you're going to be cutting at. Now, next feature that I'd point out is we do have this flip up chute here. One nice thing about the 54-inch deck is the chute goes all the way back. So if you're trying to get into those tight spots and you need that extra space, you will be able to flip this all the way back. That way you're getting just the true width of the deck. On a lot of these mowers, we can only flip it up part way, which adds extra width to the mower. But with this 54, it flips all the way back, which is very nice, and it is spring loaded to keep it down into place. Now over on the left hand side is we do have a washout port here. Guys, this is going to be a great feature for cleaning out the underside of your deck. The way we're going to do that is hook up our water hose, get on a flat concrete or asphalt surface, set this deck all the way down on the ground, turn on that water hose, then turn on our blades, let that water churn. You have to be on that concrete or asphalt surface though with the deck all the way down. That way that water stays underneath and churns and cleans the underside of that mower. If the deck is up, that water is just simply going to fall down and do you no good. Now, like we talked about on the other side, we do have our bolt-on spindle cover here. We're once again going to have the opening here on the back side so we can get to our grease zerks. And then we're also going to have our 2 anti-scalping wheels. Once again, guys, when we're adjusting on one side, we need to adjust on the other to make sure that we're getting that even cut. Now, like I said before, in the S180, the only deck size that is available is the 54. So if you're looking for a 48 or a 42, you're going to have to look down in the lineup in the S100 series, down to the S170, the 160, the 140, 130, so on and so forth, to get into those different deck sizes. A couple of things here at the front of the mower, guys. First off, one thing that you'll notice is that the S180 is going to come standard with the front bumper. Now, again, guys, this is one of those things that some people think may be silly, but guys, I'm telling you, this will save you a lot of headaches, especially if you have those inexperienced operators. This will save you, from hitting those objects in front of you. Now, more importantly, guys, here at the front, we are going to have 3 grease points that we need to be making sure and taking care of as they do deal with our front axle. So we'll have one here on each side on the wheels, and then you'll also have one here in the center on the pivot point of our axle that we need to be making sure that we're greasing. That's just going to help with the longevity of this mower, as all of the brunt and the force and everything that takes place driving wise is going to happen here at the front. So we need to make sure that we're taking care of that. And then one other thing I'd point out, guys, whenever we're leveling this deck, this is going to be our adjustment for the up and down in the front. And guys, I cannot stress enough how important it is to make sure that you're checking the levelness of this deck. Now, this is something that we need to be doing throughout the season, but also if you're buying this mower brand new, you definitely need to check this either before you leave the dealership or the place that you bought it, or as soon as you get home. Because guys, I'm telling you, I've seen these mowers come right off the showroom floor and be off as much as 2 inches. So we're talking a very uneven cut. You're going to go out and mow for the first time and be very unhappy. So make sure, get yourself a deck leveling gauge or try out the 2-inch block method, and make sure and level these decks. Let's get into the dimensions of this mower, as this is going to be a very important topic when we're talking about storing this mower, whether we're going to be able to fit it in our gates or into our shops or storage sheds, whatever that may be. So guys, whenever we're looking at this mower, first thing we'll point out, it is 46 inches tall. Lengthwise, we're 75 inches long. Width, with the mower and the chute all the way flipped out, we're 67 inches. And then if we flip the cover all the way up and back, we're at 57 inches. One misconception about these mower decks is that if it's a 54-inch deck, if I take my chute off, well, then it's 54 inches. But that's not correct when we're talking about the different add-on pieces, the rolled edges. So like I said, when it is flipped up, it's 57. That way you know if you've got room to get this in and out of those gates or those sheds or whatever those areas may be. Guys, I hope this video helped you out, and if it did, make sure to hit that like button and give us a subscribe, as that helps us out as well. Also, guys, we're going to be one of the best places online for you to buy your John Deere parts, so I'm going to leave a link to that in the description below. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. So this is going to be the biggest and struggling.
Brent's only got 10,414 subs. It's weak.
That's a lot.
It's weak.
It's really good.
You're so strong.
Dude, I'm jacked. I mean fat.
Oi, Papa!
Oh, I need my spinach. You gotta pull me backwards now.
Turn it!
Where are we? We're going the wrong way.
Turn it!
Come on, film guy. Hey, dude, this is 275 pounds of pure beef right here. Back me up. Whoa, whoa, whoa!
You said the film guy's life's easy, huh?
Oh, kids these days, man. Hey guys, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and go buy your parts at west-equip.com/parts.